All right. Much to my relief. What company do you want me to put as your title? Company of the day. Your call. Okay. Well, we might be able to fix that. Yeah. It seems like it. That is fun, isn't it? Well, for every one you know about, there are 100 you don't. Isn't that amazing? Of September in 2020. Yeah, really. Will it be more of the same, or will it be better? Oh, tons. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Well, there's a thought. Of course. Why not? Yeah, I mean, we need to talk about it a little bit. Right this minute is not the time to talk about it because we need to be able to go live here in about 5 minutes. So we need to get that controller working. No, I get that. I do too. How do you know it's wrong? Oh. golly. Gotcha. All right, well, then let's don't talk about it, except maybe obliquely, and let's dig a little deeper into the P200. Because you've got it set up. Well, it's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. I wish. Yeah. I had some difficulties at the beginning, but it was just basically I wasn't thinking the way the controller was thinking. And once I got over that, So let's bring down the music. There we go. And we'll put Jeff and Tom on. And we're here in pre-show. Yes, indeedy.
Outstanding.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh, I'm going to...
You're going to what?
I'm gonna turn my other monitor on here so I can see you too by looking over my shoulder.
All right, that's good.
That's where the boss sits.
That's good. All right.
He looks over your shoulder.
So we'll give you a shot of Jeff just so you can see his cheeseburger inspired.
Are we actually
profile.
live with people? Are people actually watching right now?
They are. They are. Oh, you've got your Alabama shirt on.
Serious?
Look at that. All right.
Do we have viewers?
At 2 or 3. You know, you don't want to overdo it.
Friends, family, illegal aliens. Welcome to the show today. This is the Tom Sinclair Eastern Shore Broadcasting Show featuring Tom Sinclair and a fat guy.
And a fat guy.
Roll Tide.
That's right. Roll Tide. Look at that.
No, wait. But see, if you go to the other school.
Idaho.
What's that other school name? Where they say Riptide? The other Alabama school?
Well, the University of Alabama is the Roll Tide. Yeah. And then there's Auburn, which is
another
War
one
Eagle.
called Auburn?
Auburn. Mm-hmm.
War Eagle. Woot, woot.
Yeah, I'm actually an Auburn alum. I went there for a year in
Really?
between other college experiences. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I've never been there. I just watched Forrest Gump. That was my closest connection.
It's a lovely little place. Well,
Now, I
Jim
got
is
this
here, and
shirt
Rich is here, and Marie is
from
here, and
some
Maggie's
customer at
here.
school.
And
Let's see, is that Rich Tamayo or Rich with the W in his last name?
Rich Ignacio. Can you pull? You want to pull up
Richard Ignacio? I've seen his name many times.
Yeah. You want to pull up the chat? Go to streamingidiots.com and go to the Watch Live page, and then you can pop out the chat.
Let's see if I can see. I have to keep turning around because my confidence monitor over here isn't working.
That's okay.
Again.
That's okay.
So let's turn around here and pull up some chat and see what anybody says to me.
We're still in pre-show, folks. Don't panic. You can find it at streamingidiots.com. Streamingidiots.com.
Is that an idiots.com? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning to spell.
That's good. Better late than never. Spell the way it sounds.
But this is the pre-show of the pre-show of the main show. So we're live, but people can see us, but not really see us.
No, they can see us.
Pre-wash on your clothes before you wash your clothes?
It's nothing at all like that. Yeah.
Watch live. I'm gonna go click on watch live. Is that okay?
Watch live. That's right. And then you'll see the chat right underneath the window.
Top chat.
And you can pop
Marine
that out.
Pinstrip Lindy. Oh, even more bad stuff to hit the U.S. Or is it really that bad with an alien abduction at this point? Well, I was recently abducted, and they did not use the probing instruments.
People are wondering right now, Tom, where do you find these guests? And, it just, what can I say? What can I say?
Well,
we go to the ends of the earth. So, and Rich he's in Idaho, which is not the end of the earth, but you can see the end of the earth from there. So
Tom came to my cell. He came to my cell and he said, like, if you do shows with me, young man, you can get out of here. You can get out of here. And I said, I'll do anything to get out of here, sir. Anything at all. Yes.
Fair enough.
For those of you watching, I took my meds.
He took 5 doses, but he took his meds. Yeah. So there you go.
Roll Tide.
Miranda's here.
I wore this shirt. This is my favorite shirt.
How did you get a shirt like that in Idaho?
I have one of the sweetest, coolest clients I've ever had.
Yeah.
And that's not because they paid me lots of money, but because I actually like them. And they said, Jeff, we're going to send you a gift. And then about like 3 seconds later, they told me that. And then literally like 3 seconds later, the doorbell, ding dong. And I opened the door and there's the FedEx guy. And he hands me this box and I opened it up and it was this shirt. It's pretty cool. And it's really amazing because it's like the right size, it's the right thickness. It gets really, really hot here in Idaho, like it was 90 the other day, like 4 weeks ago. And humidity was like 27.
Oh my gosh.
So I was just roasting to death. And I had to put on my Roll Tide shirt so I could be like, yeah, feel the breeze. This came from Alabama where it's hotter than Haiti.
That's right. And we would kill for humidity of 27%. Generally, it's the other way around. It's 72% or higher. Well, yeah.
God said thou shalt not kill.
Just figurative. All right, let's get going here. We're going to go to we're going to mute Jeff. Poor Jeff. We're going to mute Jeff, and yeah, he's already gone. And then we're going to go to the show starts. So sit tight, and let's get this puppy moving. Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. You've arrived at the end of the internet. That's right. The internet has to end someplace, and it ends right here at Streaming Idiots. Delighted to have you on with us today on the show. Delighted to have Geoffrey Hill with us also on the show. We're going to get to Geoffrey in just a second. He's sort of warming up in the bullpen, although Geoffrey, I don't think he ever warms up. He just hits the ground running 100%, a mile a minute. And we're going to talk more about the BirdDog P200. But a couple of important notes to go off right off the top. We had a hurricane here in our area of the world last week. We were in Fairhope, Alabama. It was almost a direct hit on us and just knocked us for a loop, knocked out power for 5 or 6 days, knocked out internet, which is even worse. Oh my gosh. I thought I was just going through withdrawal symptoms. I was depressed. I was down. I was moping around. Had all these trees and limbs and things that I needed to do with, and I didn't have any internet, didn't have any air conditioning. Oh, it was horrible. Anyway, life is back to normal now. The power came on, the internet came on. It was like, I don't know which is better, the internet or the air conditioning. But it's good to be back. The vMix 101 class is supposed to start next Tuesday. Is going to be postponed, partially due to the hurricane. And for those of you that have already signed up for the class, I will get up with you and we'll figure out exactly where we're going to move from here. My guess is we're going to push it back 2 weeks. It was supposed to start next Tuesday, which would be a week from yesterday. So I think it's going to be 3 weeks from yesterday because the storm. It's funny how you're kind of out of pocket for a week, but then you come back and you're a month behind. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, that is. That's the deal on that. We're going to postpone that class. And if you haven't already signed up for it, it's a great class. We've done this. I think this is the 4th time we've done the class. Basically, it's a survey class. You remember back to your college days when you took, Math 101, English 101. Well, this is vMix 101. This is starting out with vMix. And we cover we pretty much cover all of the major bases in vMix over 6 weeks for about 2 hours every Tuesday in the afternoon on the East Coast and at lunchtime on the West Coast. But you're welcome to join us. We are excited because the folks at BirdDog have arranged for us to get they haven't arranged for it. We bought it. We have a new BirdDog PTZ camera, the P100. I'm using the P200 right now. Which I love. It's just a sweet little camera. In fact, Geoffrey and I are going to talk a little bit more about the P200 in just a minute because he's had it long enough he hadn't broken it yet. Well, he hadn't broken it, period. I won't say yet because he better not. But he's gotten to know it really, really well. And so I'm bringing a P100 in, and I think, a P200 might be a little overkill as a studio cam. I mean, it's a 30x lens. The P100 is a 10x lens, but it's also full NDI. And a sweet price point of about $1,600, so it's really affordable. So we'll bring it in and test it out here and see if it is as good as we think it could be. So that's coming down the pike. Also to note that vMix has released a new update to vMix 23. vMix 24 looks like it's going to be delayed to after the first of the year. That was per the vMix Funtime live show last night. If you didn't see it, go to the vMix page on YouTube and you can see the Funtime live show and hear them talk about the delay on that. But it's interesting that the most recent update, it's vMix 23.0.0, not sure why those zeros are in the middle, .62. And .62 means that there have been 62 iterations of vMix 23. And I looked back to say, okay, 62, boy, that's a lot. How does that compare with previous versions? Well, version 23, which was the previous version, went all the way up to .68 before version 22 went up to .68 before 23 came out. Version 21 went up to .60. Version 20 went up to .55, and .20 went up to 54. So we've got 54, 55, 60, 68 as the last 4, and the current version is up to 62. So my guess is, we may have a few more minor updates. I mean, they're just bug updates. There are no major improvements that, at least that I can tell. But you probably want to go ahead and update, because there may be a little goodie in there that fixes something that you didn't know you needed. So vmix 23.0.0.62 is available at vmix.com. If you've purchased your vmix, I think since January 2018, that may be the date, you may get a free update to that. But don't hold me to that, because I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's it on the vmix stage. And the reason why 24 has been delayed, and Maggie is alluding to it in the chat, is that these guys have been just so blasted. Well, let's use an Australian word. So bloody busy. That's the extent of my Australian vocabulary. They've been so bloody busy answering emails from folks that are discovering vMix for the first time, because they're locked down wherever they are. Maybe they're in New Zealand where nobody is moving. Maybe they're in England. Maybe they're in somewhere in Asia or in the US. And all of a sudden, everybody is live streaming from their home or from their home office or whatever they can find. And so vMix is being overrun with folks that are asking tech support questions. Did I just hear a lawnmower fire up outside my door? Oh boy, that's going to be fun. We'll have to wait and see about that. So they've got the janitor answering tech support questions about, not really, but they're working really hard on that. And if you've ever done a project like writing code or something like that just takes real focus, you know that you can't be interrupted every 10 minutes to have somebody ask you a question about something else. You really need to be absorbed in it and focused on it. And so I think that's really kind of what they're waiting for, is the ability to have the ability to focus without reducing the support level to all the folks that are asking for support from outside. So if you write vMix an email, remember that they're in Australia. They may be asleep when you send it. It may be 16 to 36 hours before you get a reply. If you don't get a reply, send them another note. They were asked last night, what are they doing about vMix swag? They don't have time for swag. Their USA distributor of vMix mousepads is out of mousepads. The entire vMix mousepad warehouse here in the US is empty. In fact, we're thinking about subleasing it to somebody else. So, life is not yet back to normal. The good news is that vMix is taking very seriously the thought of coming to NAB here in the US in Las Vegas in October. That's not next month. That's a year from now. They want to make sure that it is absolutely perfectly safe for their employees to go anywhere. They don't want to put anybody in danger or even risk it. It's not worth the risk. So they are thinking that they will be at NAB in October 2021 in Las Vegas. Whether they will be at IBC in September of 2021 in Amsterdam is still a little up in the air. But if you're making plans, if you're setting aside funds to make a trip for fun, but also for professional development, then you want to put those October and November dates, those September and October dates on your calendar for Amsterdam, IBC in September, and for Las Vegas, NAB in October. I will be there if it's at all possible, and I'd love to meet you there. So that's it. So let me see if we can find Geoffrey. We've lost him somewhere. He is on a farm in Idaho, and they do have internet to Idaho. They really do. I was surprised too. And so let's see if we can find him. Let's see. We got to get Geoffrey on here. And Geoffrey, have we got you? Are you there? Are you okay?
Hello.
Yes. He thinks he's suffering from latency.
Internet is slow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's not that slow. We were talking
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So how you
Maybe it's
been?
me that's slow.
Nah, no.
I feel slow.
Are you doing all right?
Hey, welcome, friends, family, fellow illegal aliens. I always want to make sure we include everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna crop you just a
I
little bit.
enjoy being on Tom's show, today's Tom's show, and that guy.
Well, Jeffrey is here because he is now an experienced user of the BirdDog P200 camera. We sent him one a while back. Yeah, it's like, what did I do with that camera? And he has
Oh crap!
he has
I
put it
thought we're
all
talking
sorts
about
of
Sony
places.
today.
Yeah. No, we're not talking about Sony. We're talking about the BirdDog P200, which is the one I'm using to talk with you. You're not using it to talk with me because you've got it somewhere else there on the farm. Now, this is not the farm. This is
Yes.
not the Idaho CIA location. So don't get confused as to which
McDonald
farm we're
had a
talking.
E-I-E-I-O. No,
Yeah,
this is a farm. This is a farm in Idaho, not to be mistaken for a farm in Africa.
right. And Jeffrey is coming to
Idaho is
us on a.
still within the boundaries of the United States.
That's right.
We have electricity.
For the moment. He's coming to us on a vMix to vMix call. He's pushing 720 to us. And we're getting about a half a second, about 500 milliseconds of latency on audio and video coming from him. It was funny earlier when we were setting this up, he was sending me 240, which is like, can you even send 240? Does vMix have the capacity to send 240? I didn't know that. And so, yeah, I guess you can send 240. Yeah, there it is on the list. So he was sending me 240, and we were able to figure out how to bump that up so that he could send me at least 720. So tell me about your experiences. You've had this camera in a courtroom. You've had it on the farm. Tell me about this experiences with the P200. I'm going to just toss you that softball, and or can you show it to us? That might be a good place to start.
I keep taking a breath. My mama told me take another breath, so I did, and here I am. Today, you're looking at me through a Sony 4K Handycam. Yes, we have Sony out here in Idaho too. It does take a while to get, like, you have to order it on Amazon, then you have to wait around for a long time, and sometimes the guy shows up, sometimes the guy doesn't, and then you're like, hey, where's my stuff? And then you come home and it's over there next to the horses. You're like, who would deliver a camera to the horses? I guess they were the home. So today, Tom said, hey, Jeff, you've had this lovely P200 camera by BirdDog.TV. Got to go check it out because it's really lovely. And I mentioned this before on a previous show that was prior to the meds. I took my meds today. And so I mentioned that I loved the camera on a prior show. But see, the problem was I didn't have time to show you how wonderful it was. I was so busy, like eating popcorn and watching Netflix, I just didn't have time to plug it in properly. So then when you looked at me, you're like, dang, this guy doesn't look so good. He's like yellow and green and blue and everything. But today, I look really good. I mean, check out the... Yeah. By the way, before I start talking about the P200, I want to tell you, there's a guy out there named Jeff Widgren. He's a great guy. You should get to know Jeff Widgren. He's over there in the Midwest someplace. He still speaks English. And so he's my friend. And I just thought I'd tell him, hey, Jeff, I love you too, man. So I got this P200. And as I mentioned in the previous show, I was incredibly skeptical because I've been through a range of PTZ cameras, pan tilt zoom cameras, these robotic cameras. I've been in the production world now and shooting video films and commercials since I was 15 years old, and now I'm 55. My birthday was just a few weeks ago. Okay, we'll all pause for a moment. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Makes me feel so special inside. And over the years, I get these pan tilt zoom cameras and I say, how can anybody use it? The picture quality is atrocious. especially when I started shooting everything with a cinema camera, I really, really, really noticed the difference. And I'm like, how can these people charge $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 for this security camera footage, and then say it's like broadcast? It's security camera footage. They put this itty bitty tiny little chip in it like that, so it's like smaller than my bit off fingernails. And you just go, I can't do this. I cannot subject myself to this horrid picture quality, this massively disgusting, grotesque color. And then when you push that button to go from one scene to the next, it's either going to go bang so fast the camera flies off the tripod and catches on fire, or it's going to go not quite slow enough. So you want to do those really nice pushes right into your subject like this when they get really close to the camera like that, so you can see their pores. By the way, I didn't shave for you today. I'm really sorry. But the Roll Tide shirt. It's important because this show originates from Alabama, Roll Tide, except that Tom is an Auburn alumni, so we understand. Where was I, Tom? I have to look over here. What was I just talking about?
You were going to show us about
See, Tom's over here on my left.
P200s. You were going to show us about the P200.
Gosh. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Yes. So I got this. Did I just bump the tripod?
You're fine.
I got this P200 and I put it through the works. Like I put it in the bathroom. I mean, why not, right? You ever wanted to have a camera there looking at your bathroom sink? I put it in the living room. I put it in the courtroom. I put it in churches. I took it to funerals. Like when you really want a good solid date, go to a funeral. Man, you know she loves you if she goes to a funeral with you. The P200 absolutely loves me. So I should have had video of that, darn it. So I parked my car out in the parking lot. Then I take this 200-foot long Cat 6 shielded network cable on this nice, really cool orange reel that I bought at Home Depot for $99, tax not included, batteries not included. And I wrap the coil around it. Then I pull it in like that, and I plug the camera. By the time I get from the end of that 200-foot cable all the way back into the car, and I sit there and I look at the switch, it's almost connected completely. And I open up vMix like that. I just kind of tilt the little lens like that, the screen, there it is. And I click on add input, and I click on NDI camera, and there it is, little square like that says BirdDog FC30 something F. I don't know why it has those extra numbers. And I click on it, boom, there it is. It's so cool. So cool. So I'm really thinking about converting it to wireless, because if I could put an access point there and a station there, and I talked to the IT guy about that. He says, theoretically it's possible. He always talks that way. Theoretically it's possible, but you could be, having bandwidth issues if you get in the same place with a 2.4 gig Wi-Fi connection here and a 2.4 gig access point there. And I said, yeah, but what if I use 5 gig? Because 5 gig Wi-Fi has 160 channels, and every time I go out there with my handy dandy little Wi-Fi sniffer, no one's ever using 5 gig. So I'm going to try that, because I found out I can get a Wi-Fi access point running 5 gig for about $88. Pretty amazing. So I'm thinking that's going to be my next adventure with this cool P200 camera. But I do believe I mentioned that it's sitting there today. I spared no expense. I went to the studio. I hired some sexy nude models, boudoir models. Boudoir models. He's over here mimicking me. I hired some boudoir. They're not even wearing clothes. They're not. So I hired these models to stand around and pose for us.
Where is the cut button? I can't find it.
The good thing is these models are mute. They're mute. Now, they're not dumb. They're actually some of the smartest four-legged creatures on the planet. But like I said, they're boudoir models, so shield your eyes as I switch to the shot. And I will show you. I will show you what I did with them out there in the pasture. Don't be thinking those thoughts. I did nothing wrong. I tell you. So I'm going to turn around like this so I can push the buttons. Okay. Enjoy my hair. What do you think? Is it good? I cut it myself. Here we go. Which input is it? It's input 33. Tom, brace yourself.
Like, how many times
Is
have
it
you
working?
heard that in your life?
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to my backyard. Today, I'm going to talk slowly so we all get the point. But not real as I took my Yeah. That's what you got to do. You got to take your meds. Check it out. My glasses are going to turn dark in the sun. Isn't that fun? That's so cool when your glasses are dark in the sun. Oh, wait a minute. Now, you guys came here today to see about these BirdDog devices, and there it is in the back right there. Now, I want you to see something. See, I invested a lot of money in this $44 lighting stand to make this work for you today. I tell you, I nearly went broke on the $44 lighting stand. Because you see, it's this camera here just mounted on a lighting stand, and you can see there's the camera right there. This is a BirdDog P200 camera with only one cable connected to it. Isn't that amazing? One cable, look all the way down there. That's kind of sexy. But let's talk a little about sexy for a second. Okay, this is our model today. Hello, meet horse. Hello, horse. I don't know the horse's name, but the horse is very nice. And so I needed some sexy models for today, and she auditioned. So how nice, huh? So over here we have the camera, and I stuck the camera on this tripod, the very expensive $44 lighting stand. But see, because it's a lighting stand, the legs don't, like, you know, stretch out and get bigger and shorter. So I'm actually on a hill. This is a slope. I'm sure you can all tell that this is a slope piece of land. Yeah, look at the way the water's running straight down. It's a slope. You can see the waterfall going on over there. So when you put your tripod on a slope, it doesn't always want to stand up. So what I did for that was that I went and I bought this really interesting little ball head joint thing. So as I rotate these knobs, this ball head moves around like this, and this camera gets all level and everything, so that I don't have to worry about if my little cheap $44, wait a minute, very expensive $44 lighting stand is on flat ground. I just level the camera with the $37, I'm really breaking the bank here, $37 ball head joint that sticks here onto the post right there on this lighting stand. So this cable can go all the way down here like this, clear down here to the uber expensive $9 cable reel, and then go, check it out. I'm wearing my wife's bedroom slippers. Found out her bedroom slippers are more comfortable than mine. So they're mine now. Don't you like them? Kind of cool. See, now here you follow the little wire. I made it curly-cued like this because this is a tripping hazard. So put your foot on it, and it keeps you alive and keeps you awake. And you go like this, you follow it all the way along, all the way back to the studio. It's 200 feet long. I discovered that this camera works better with a shielded Cat 6 cable than it does a non-shielded Cat 5. However, I did splurge recently and spent $54 on a non-shielded 250-foot long Cat 5 cable from Amazon, and it worked. In fact, it bailed me out the other day because I didn't realize I plugged the camera into a non-PoE port on my network switch because, well, I called the IT guy and I said, can you quickly configure this switch so it's like functional? I bought this super nice Cisco 26 port switch with a 26 gig backplane and plugged it in, and it was great, but the boot time on it seemed really slow, like 3 or 4 minutes slow. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand why it would be so slow. So called my friend up on the phone. I said, hey Gary, can you come and take a look at this switch and see why does it boot so slow? So he timed it, and actually it boots up just fine. It took 1 minute 7 seconds for the switch to come online, get everything ready, all the littles to stop flashing like alien spacecraft, and then he forgot me that he turned PoE off on ports 1 through 6 and port 11 through the others. So when I went to plug the camera in, I plugged the camera into a non-PoE port, and then I couldn't figure out why my camera wasn't turning on. So then I called him and he said, oh, well, that's because PoE is only available on port 7 through 16 and, well, something like that. So now I just have to be careful. And I said, well, why'd you do that? And he says, because we don't want the constantly be searching for PoE and other devices across ports you're not using when you've got a 24 port switch, but only like 8 devices connected into it. So why do we need to have all that CPU power spending its time searching for something that's not going to be there? Well, that made total sense. So here I am out here today with our sexy models. Now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to go connect up with Tom again. And I'm going to push buttons and I'm going to twist knobs. And I may need more meds. Did I take my meds? I don't know. I can't remember stuff. So let's go back in and talk to Tom and see what our sexy models are doing out here. Where are they? There's the rusty trailer. Where? There she is right there. There's another one too. It's sort of hard to see because they're so big to hide behind each other.
Well,
there we go. Now we've got the we understand where the camera is. So let's see what the camera sees from that place. Can we do that?
You know what I found? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little choppy.
You've got to be kidding.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
the
the way it
Mets.
is today.
You know what I found out? I was watching that video and I learned something. I learned that when I talk, my teeth.
Don't pay
There's
any
very
attention.
important things.
Don't pay any attention. Just be yourself.
Okay, that's the problem. I am myself. Okay, so I'm going to turn around this way so you guys can see my monitor. Hey, wait, let me adjust the tripod. Hold on.
There we go. Okay.
Look at that. That's classy right there. Now you can see my monitor, and then I'm going to push some buttons. So the coolest, how can I be talking when you can't see me? The reason I wanted pan, tilt, zoom cameras is so that I don't have to bring camera guys with me all the time. Because here in Idaho, there's 1,400 people. 1,400 people. And I know they're not all out there begging to work with me to run cameras. So when I got to have a guy to run a camera, holy cow, I'm going to have some guy come out here who's going to drive 100 miles? No. So then I have to employ my son, and we know how that works out. Sometimes children, they're like, do I got to do that again? So I said, man, I need pan, tilt, zoom cameras. So I need a pan, tilt, zoom camera that functions so smoothly like a professional operator that I can program to go to certain places when I want it to, not when it decides to. I want it to go when I tell it to, and then I want it to go there smoothly, and I want it to go there in focus, and I want it to have nice picture quality. So that's why I decided to settle on the P200. I really shouldn't say it that way because, you know, settling implies that you had to make like the best of the wrong choices. It wasn't a case of settling for me, though, actually. It was a case of check this one out, check that one out, check this one out, check that one out, and go, holy cow, this is the one. I didn't settle. I moved up. So let's go click on this now. Now you have to look over me at my hairdo right there. I did it for you. I'm going to click on the very first shot, load it into the preview, and I'm going to push the enter key because I like things simple, just one key. And there we go. So now you can see it. Look at that. Tom made it go full screen. It's not very clear. Here, I'm going to try this. I'll see if I can bump that up a tad. You going to get better? I don't know. I hope so. Anyway, it's because we have internet in Idaho. You know, we can barely live with the internet we have. So I wanted a camera that looks really great. And if you take a look at it here, that's actually the color of the sky, and the horses actually are brown, and the grass actually is green. And I know I say that, but the problem is that on some of these other cameras, the sky might be purple, the grass might be yellow, the horses might be light brown. I mean, I had a hard time getting solid on these other cameras. I also discovered that the drifts all the time, and I couldn't seem to lock it in. It just wouldn't stay. Now, for those of you who are engineers, if you look really, really close, here, let me go back to this shot. If you look really, really close, see right up there on the lens? Wait, that's the wrong screen. Go over here. Right up there on the lens, right above the horse. I'm going to go back. I want you to notice something. Notice something, okay? Ready? Here we go. Do you see it? Look, what do you see right in the middle of the field, right above the horse? Dust on the lens. For those of you who are those engineer types that got to get all your ducks in a row, I left the dust on the lens just for you. It's an attention keeper. It's going to drive you crazy. It does me too. But let's just look beyond the dust and watch what happens when I zoom in to our gorgeous models. Just like that. Isn't that amazing? I didn't have to do anything really difficult. All I did was just click on the input and it zoomed there. And it zooms back to the previous shot. Now I can just go click on the other input. Here, I'll let you watch me do it here. Okay, there we go. There's my shot. Now I'm going to click on this one right here, this input number 4. Move my mouse over there, and I'm just going to click on it. I don't have to send it out here yet because you're seeing me, but I'm going to click on it because I want the shot to move before I cut to it. So I'll just click on the input. You can see the shots moving. Where'd our models go? I tell ya, I pay them to stand there and then they don't. How disappointing. But now that my shot's ready, I can push this nice 0 key and I can crossfade to that shot. Then I can go back because the models aren't there. They didn't show up for work. I don't want to push the next shot because I don't want to click on the next input, because if I do, the camera will suddenly transition to that shot. So instead, I'm going to go back to my original shot. There we go. There's the magic finger. Hello, hello. And then I'm going to go click on the next input and spy on the neighbors. There's the neighbors way over there. Did you see how that works? Now I'll push that shot, cut to it, bang. But if I click on the next input, I can spy in their barn, but you're going to see the camera move. Now, there's times when you want a camera to move, but most of the time I don't want a camera to move. When you're sitting there watching city council and the mayor is sitting there talking to somebody, you want your camera to move back and forth maybe if you're just doing a single camera shot, and that does happen. But there's so much, hey, look, a truck drove by. Woohoo! Better add that one up. Where's me? There's me again. But it's much, much better to go to a different shot like this, and then you can go spy on your neighbor's chickens to see which hatches first, the chicken or the egg. There's the neighbor's chickens. Yep, see that over there? Can you tell which one came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Now, the reason it's bouncing up and down is because I made sure I used my best tripod, $44, man. But that shot right there is about 1,000 feet away. And I am not actually using a digital zoom. I didn't engage the digital zoom. It's just 1,000 feet away. I didn't even know my neighbor had chickens until today. Because I was sitting there thinking before Tom's show, what can I show you pictures of? Could I show you pictures of the chickens? How about if I show you pictures of the rusty trailer? Let's go back and look at the rusty trailer. See that? There's the rusty trailer, and you can see the dirt on the lens because I didn't even notice it until I was sitting here waiting to start the show with Tom. That's my fault. That's my fault. You should fire me for that. So, if you were noticing, as I made the transition between all those shots, the color was consistent. Even though I was changing shot angles, let's go back and look at them again. Even though I was changing shot angles, the color and the exposure was consistent and transitioned so nicely. One of the things I found on the less expensive PTZ cameras was that when you made transitions, they would search their focus, they would search their coloring, they would search all kinds of things. Exposure would be all crazy and whatever. And you're like, I can't deal with that. You want your shots to be consistent. This is a shot right here of some of the backyard. We're going to see if the grandchildren are out there jumping on the trampoline. They are not on the trampoline. See? No grandchildren on the trampoline. And look how nicely it dropped right into focus. I went from 1,000 feet away shot, pulled back, moved my shot, didn't have to touch a thing, and the focus just locked right in. So it was so subtle that the viewer didn't have to go, is it Martha? Send me a pill. I think I'm down on my meds. She didn't have to do that. He just looks at the lens and went, that's great. Notice my nice framing. I got leaves on the side because you see that in Asia all the time. Lots and lots of Asian game shows and sitcoms. They always have to have like this shot where you have the leaves in there and the flowers, and then you see everybody else. I guess it gives you perspective. It's an Asian thing. I don't see it too often here in TV in America, but maybe over in Asia you see it all the time. I mean, it's crazy. I see it. I was on Asian TV when I was a teenager on a sitcom, Korean. It was really fun, and that's when I first noticed they always got to put a camera behind the leaves. Now, I just discovered something that I should have done before, and that is, check it out. You guys don't have to look at me any longer because I forgot to plug this camera into the wall. So we'll just go back here and look at this camera and see the neighbor's chickens. I love the color rendition. Here's the neighbors over there sunbathing on the back deck. Watch out. Ethel, don't look. I think this is a Mennonite family. They're super, super, super nice. The Mennonites out here are wonderful, wonderful people. They all have clean places. They're all incredibly respectful. Their children are smart, well-kept, clean. They're just awesome people. And that's who lives over in that blue house, a beautiful Mennonite family. Let's see, let's check back in with our models and see if our models are still hanging out. Holy cow! Can you imagine? Look how much they eat. I set this camera up 2 hours ago. I aimed my shots 2 hours ago, and they are still there. Totally incredible. What else should we talk about?
Well, it looks good. I mean, nothing like seeing the real life image of the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, live. This is literally the best P camera I've ever used. I can't even tell you that. I've used so many, but the beauty for this is that I'm always shooting alongside of this P200, this BirdDog P200, with a Blackmagic Ursa 4K, and also a Blackmagic Pocket 4K cinema camera. So I'm forever and a day color matching all of my cameras. And as I've tried to match other PTZ cameras, I have had a heck of a time doing so. It just doesn't come close. I mean, I try really, really hard, but no matter what I do, my Blackmagic cameras look so much better than all those other PTZ cameras I've used in the past. Then Tom sent me this P200, and I was, of course, skeptical because I had not had the experiences I really wanted with the previous PTZ cameras. I've got a bunch of them sitting here in boxes. I paid the money for them, and now how the heck am I supposed to sell them? It's hard to sell things that you don't believe in. So they're just kind of sitting in boxes. I might sell them for cheap or whatever. But, what is that word? Habeas corpus? Or maybe is that I don't know. Is habeas corpus the one that says, let the buyer beware?
No.
Or is that super delecti or is it, what?
It'll come
What's
to
the
me in
one that
just a
says "Let
minute.
the buyer beware"?
Yep. While we're working on that, Jeff,
No,
tell us
Semper
what the
Fi.
camera
So Semper
settings are
Fi is
for.
the Marines. What camera settings are for?
Yeah, what
what
the
do you mean?
cameras are currently set for. Yeah.
Oh, for that, we have to open up the browser.
Yeah. Can you show us the browser window? Do a screen cap on that.
I do that. You twisted my arm. Let's see. What's the easiest way? I have a hard time operating the screen capture thing here in vMix. It's hard for me for some crazy reason. But we'll give it a shot. That's one thing I have a trouble with. It's the zoom and going up and down. And wait, I could do the NDI capture. We could try that. There's my local desktop.
And Ken wants to know,
we'll
did you
just take
turn
a
off
look
the
at-
anti-flicker option?
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look here.
Show me, show me.
Is it going to work in Google Chrome? We'll find out. Wait, let's go look at this other window here. I always have trouble with it. It's if I do the web thing, you know, where you type in the web address, that's probably the best thing to do. Let's try that out.
Nah, just do a screen cap.
Yeah, I'll do that. Except I'm running 4K, and how am I going to send a 4K image to you and actually have it, you know, without zooming in?
Well, there is that.
Yeah, here we'll send this image over here. So there's my screen. Isn't it lovely? And here's this screen. See, the problem is can the viewers at home read this while eating the Wheaties? No one can read that, right? Is it legible?
Ish.
What if I do this? What if I make it really big? What if I zoom in?
There you
Is
go.
it getting bigger?
It is.
Hey, look at that. Okay. Now, the thing is, I'm so tempted to stop and read the chat because it's fun. But really what I should do is go up here and click in the IP address. I'm just using the standard IP address that came with the standard thing that's sitting in the other room called a router. And I know that the camera is currently at .234.
Okay.
So as soon as I type the camera's IP address in properly, that's the key. You got to type the numbers properly. Then it asks me for a password. Now don't watch. B-I-R.
The password is BirdDog. No spaces, no dashes.
B-I-R-D-D-O-G.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. Click OK. It's going to show me this really cool place. Should I
That's
save
really
the password?
small.
Why not? Okay, let's try to zoom in again. Zoom.
There we go.
Room a zoom zoom and a boom boom. Rum shaker. I used to be a famous rapper. Then I woke up. Okay, it says on here network. I'm running DHCP. And when the camera came in, it said that the fallback address down here was 192.168.100.100. But that drove us nuts, and the IT guy, friend of mine named Gary Lawrence, really good guy. Hire him, he's a really good guy. Works in the prison, deals with all types of people. Nice, even temperament. He'll get along with you well. He's like, that static fallback address could be a problem, so let's change it to something more local. So we did, instead of whatever that was. So there we go. We never changed this timeout or anything. We didn't change any of these things because they do it automatic. Look at all these cool numbers. They look like phone numbers. That's kind of what IP addresses are. If you ever wondered what an IP address is, it's like a phone number for your computer. I probably should change this BirdDog name, but if I do, then I might be confused and I wouldn't be able to tell you that it's 4F298.local. So there you go. That's the settings. If you are using your PTZ camera in a facility where your IP addresses stay the same, then you'll actually be better off to use a static IP address, which means it never changes. But I'm always moving around, getting connection from this place and getting that place. Every time I go into some place, like on Friday, I'm going to be doing a funeral. I don't even know if there's internet connection over there. So if there isn't, I'm going to have to stream from my phone. So then I'm going to hook my phone to the access point. My phone becomes the access point. Then my router is going to get some IP addresses from my phone, and who knows what that crazy IP address is. So I want to leave it on DHCP so that the camera picks up the IP address of the local network that I'm connected into. That does pose some problems, but imagine if your camera wouldn't connect, what a big problem that would be. Now, Ken asked a question earlier, and I don't remember what it was, so I'm just going to go click through here. I haven't created any presets because I like the way vMix does it. So I just click on the little monitor inputs there, and it saves all those presets. The settings down here, what do we have here? Visca address settings. I didn't touch any of those. These are all stock. OSD on-screen display settings, on or off. I left it on. I don't need to do anything. It came set up nicely like that. Let's go back up here, look at the system. Password settings. Well, you didn't really see me type the password in anyway, so it's okay. The NDI network settings, I didn't change this. If you have an NDI discovery server, you probably should change that. On our network, not the one here in the studio, but I also own a CDN. We actually have a very robust NDI discovery server, and so if I'm going to connect directly into that, then yes, I will turn that on, but we're not doing that here. So in the AV setup section, NDI audio video setup.
Oh yeah, this is the good
camera
part.
Audio in gain. This is the good part. I'm going to stop swearing. See, that's what's good. See, when I got this camera, previously, the previous operator, who shall not be named, took the audio input and cranked it all the way to 50. This is kind of like turning your Marshall guitar stack up to 300 instead of, the maximum gain at 10. So when I got signal from my microphone that I plugged into the port on the back of the camera, y'all knew that there was a port on the back of the camera to plug a microphone into, right? It says audio in. So when I plugged the microphone into that port, I was listening to the audio, and it sounded like someone was crunching their Cheetos on the mic. And yet they were actually just talking. So I did a little bit of research, thought about it a little bit, had a spaz attack, took some more meds, and realized I just needed to turn the gain down to 0. And of course, naturally you'd think, why would he turn it to 0? That's because gain isn't really a volume control. Gain is what you add on top of the regular audio. So the camera receives audio already without turning up the volume. So if your microphone is outputting the audio at 100%, then it's going to arrive at the camera at 100% full volume. And then suddenly you crank it up another 50, you just added distortion. So you don't need to turn the audio up if you're plugging a wireless mic into this camera, which, by the way, is the quickest, simplest way to get beautiful audio sync with these PTZ cameras. Plug one of your wireless microphone receivers directly into the camera and let the camera do its job. So that's why it's turned at 0. We don't use any of the comms for this and I've been trying to figure this out. Why would a pan tilt zoom camera actually need a comm system? There's no one standing there operating the camera. But it is a feature, so you might use it. I don't know. I don't use it, but it is embedded and it is free. It's just part of the camera, and I think that's incredible because comms, I forget what it's called, comms central. It's free. Don't you love it? And then I also love the fact that you can change the various resolutions and frame rates. Obviously, the more higher your frame rate, the more bandwidth it requires. I don't really need it to be super, super high. It's only running about 150 meg bandwidth anyway. And so 30 frames per second for me is good enough. It also is what I'm using all my other cameras at. I don't want one camera to be running at 60 and the other camera running at 30. Even though vMix will correctly interpret the 60 and the 30 and put them together to make whatever output you want, I kind of like consistency. So I set my PTZ, my BirdDog P200 up to 1080p 30, as well as my cinema cameras, so that everything is nice and copacetic. That's a college word. I learned it this morning. So, but the cool thing about this is what if I showed up to a shoot and I found out that the other cameras there were running at 60p? I don't even have to turn this camera off. I can just click on the 60p and automatically it changes without turning the camera off. Suddenly it's now shooting 60p. Man, I love that feature, because on all of the other cameras I worked with, if you changed the resolution or the frame rate, you had to turn the camera off and turn it back on to reinitialize it. I don't want to do that. I just want to change it. And it's like magic. It changed. And on the screen, I couldn't even tell. But yet, when I went there and I looked at it and I went to vMix and I opened up my input and I looked at the settings, bingo, right there. It said 1080p 60. And I didn't even do anything. Now, the thing I really like about it is this thing called an NDI tally light. And if you know what tally is, you know how powerful that is. So I just leave that on. And people think that's so convenient because then they know when the camera's looking at them. I discovered that by sliding this little fader back and forth, left and right, you can change the bandwidth that the camera's outputting across your network. You can dial it all the way down to 80 meg or all the way up to 180-ish. I just left it at 150-ish, right here, 151, and that's what I left it at. It's plenty good enough. That's full NDI, not the compressed version. This is the beautiful full version, which, by the way, is one of the things I really love about this camera. NDI HX, I believe is what it's called, is the compressed version, and it's like a 20 meg signal or so. Anybody in video who understands what it means when you compress will tell you that the higher bandwidth equals better image quality. So if you're looking at a product that has an HX on the NDI, I mean, I think that's correct, right? HX is the compressed version, right, Tom?
Yes.
Yes, so that means that HX is great and it solves many, many, many problems, and we love NDI-HX, but it's not full bandwidth. And so there is going to be some loss of image quality, which for me, because I guess I'm a snobby purist, yet here I am living on a farm. I got sexy models with 4 legs, but I'm a snobby purist when it comes to this, and I don't want my video signal watered down, which is why I'm sitting here in the studio running a 4K camera as a webcam. That's crazy. That's just insane. But that's just me. I escaped. They let me go. We won't tell the story. So, exposure here, you have so many options. So many options. And just like I said earlier, you don't have to restart the camera to change these. I wish that you could see me, because I'm a fool and I didn't put a battery on the camera, because then you know how adamant I am that it's important that you don't have to turn your camera off to change your settings. Dang, how many people got that wrong? There's so many of these little PTZ cameras that somehow, I don't know why they do that. They're like, click here, okay, restarting camera. What if I needed to do that in the middle of a show? I'd be out of that camera, and then every time you turn it off, you run the risk of it not working again. We don't want that. We want it to work. Right now I'm running in full auto. It's not full auto zone. Auto zone is a car place. This is full auto camera settings. And I just kind of like that. I mean, the image quality we were looking at earlier, which flip back here, that's a full auto image. I didn't even take time. Don't you love that zoom?
Sweet.
It's drifting. Now that's one thing that drives me nuts. Sometimes it drifts and I don't know why. But it's full auto. I didn't bother to color correct it because I went, wow, that's it? It looks great. Folks, that's really what it looks like outside my house. Those are the true colors. It's not, something else. So we go back here to this image. Where was it? Desktop capture. There. So I left it on full auto, but you could change it. Now this something here, slow shutter. I never ever thought I'd see slow shutter on a pan tilt zoom camera. I don't know what I'd use it for unless it's dark. But what a cool effect to be able to make that robot strobing effect even on your pan tilt zoom camera. Totally love that. Bunch of other stuff in here. Automatic exposure response, your gain limit. I turned gain limit all the way down. The reason I turned gain limit all the way down is because I don't want my image to be ruined by digital noise. I want my image as clean as possible. So the image that you're looking at is pure. It's the way the camera's actually shooting it. Look at the chickens. Don't you love the chickens? Let's back out. and see if our friends are still eating. They are. That's why they get so big. So if I had turned on the gain increase on there, if I turned that up and allowed it to, it would get significantly brighter, but I'll be introducing noise into the image. But the fact that I can actually turn this up on this camera, to me, is wonderful, because there are those times when it's dark that you reach the limit of the camera's natural sensitivity, and you may have to turn it up a little bit. Exposure compensation, I mean, these are things you can look up and learn about. High sensitivity, I'm never doing nighttime shots. I don't need high sensitivity. White balance, it's on full auto. For me, that was great. But look how simple it can be if you need to change it. It's real simple. You got your red, you got your blue. It's so simple. You can dial it in. You can change it for some presets. You can go full manual, or you can do outdoor automatic, slave auto, whatever, one push, out indoors. It doesn't say anything in here for fluorescent lights, but the camera handles the fluorescent lights in the city council room quite nicely. So I'm guessing that your city council room will have the same awfully ugly green fluorescent light effects that your camera will have to respond to. I have yet to play with any picture settings down here because I didn't need them. I did reduce the sharpness. It was way up here, and I didn't want it to be way up here. I wanted it to be down a little bit less. I don't mind a little tiny bit of sharpness on it, but if you do too much sharpness, it starts making the image look plastic. And that's a really common thing with sharpness across most cameras, is that when you turn that sharpness up, it makes the edges of the pixels more sharpy, and suddenly they get all sharpier, and they look plastic, and I don't like that. The effect thing, well, if you want a black and white image, I guess you can shoot black and white, but why? I don't know. Noise reduction, I did turn that up maximum. I don't want any noise, so I've engaged the noise reduction circuitry to the maximum, and I did notice there was a slight difference in that. The image gets even better when I cranked it up to 5, so I did. If I was hanging the camera upside down on the ceiling, which I saw someone do the other day, and I thought that was kind of funny, because they hung it upside down on a place where everybody walked, and then the camera bounced when they walked across that place on the balcony, which was kind of funny. I've actually done the same thing, but you do the flip button and it would flip the image right side up again. And if then you were looking in the mirror or looking backwards through your rear view mirror, you would want to click the on button, and that would mirror the image, so it's reversed. And Ken wanted to know about flicker. Yes, I've turned deflicker on just because I could. Wide dynamic range is the reason this camera, as far as I'm concerned, this is why this camera matches my cinema camera so nicely. When I turned it off, when I turned wide dynamic range off, the blacks weren't quite as true, the whites weren't quite as white. But when I turned it on, it was so beautiful. It's kind of like they match my cinema cameras nicely. I mean, I just said that before, right? So I turned it on. I have done nothing else. Picture profile 2 down here. The IR cut filter, I turned it off. Chroma suppress off. HLC, I can't remember what that means. Backlight compensation, I turned it on. And I turned the stabilizer on simply because I noticed that if it's off or on, it didn't hurt anything. So I figured I'd rather turn it on just in case there's these minute vibrations than turning it off and then discovering there's minute vibrations coming through my very expensive $44 lighting stand that only goes to 6 feet tall. So that's it. There's our friends, the chickens. What else should we talk about? Is everybody still here?
A few folks, yes. But this is a great in-depth review, Jeff. I mean, really, this is good stuff.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Aren't you glad I took the meds?
Yeah, really. Of course, the fact that you took the meds with 5 Red Bulls may have, decreased the med effectiveness, but you never know.
Okay, for that, you have to look at the trailer. There's the trailer.
There's the trailer. With that beautiful patina.
There you go.
I love it.
Now it's going to stop. It's going to refocus. Look how quickly it focused. Oh, you know what I was going to show you?
What?
Let's take a look here. Let's see. Look, I love this part. I just love this part. This is one of my favorite things about this camera. Here we'll open. Wait, I first have to share the desktop again. So there's my desktop. And then I'm going to open up the settings for the camera, which is hard to see, of course, because now it's doing that infinite loop thing. Then I'm going to go over here and click on PTZ. Now this is the thing that frustrated me at first until I discovered that little thing called Bonjour browser.
Right.
So I couldn't figure out, because the camera's running in DHCP mode, which means that its address is always changing. I never know what address the camera is. So the first thing I had to do was get the Bonjour browser thing. Let's see if I can find it over here real quick. Bonjour browser, here it is. I had to download this Bonjour browser. You can see it right in the middle of the screen. I really apologize, but not really, for having a 4K screen showing you this, because you can't really read it. But I just clicked on the thing where it says BirdDog, and then down here in the little box down at the bottom right here, shows me the IP address of the camera.
That's right.
So now that I know the camera IP address, I can go over here and I can type it in the little line right here, which of course is not, I can't make it turn blue, but you know where it is. If you looked around, you'll find it. I typed in the IP address. I made sure I chose Visca over IP. It's kind of confusing because this is an NDI camera, but it uses the Visca over IP settings to control the pan tilt zoom features. So I made sure I switched on Sony Visca over IP. I typed in the IP address, then I clicked the connect button, and as long as my IP address is correct and there's nothing else using the particular port, it's an important thing here, it's going to connect. And when it does, then I can control the camera. So seeing as how I want you to see the camera, what I'm actually doing, I'm not going to switch back and send the main output. You'll have to look at my preview monitor on the left, which I've conveniently covered green for you at the top, because green is good and red is bad. If your input is red, that means you're dead and you don't want it at the wrong time. So now you have to watch my preview monitor. The first thing I noticed on the cheap PTZ cameras is that when you pan and tilt, they move so fast. And they always only seem to move so fast. So then I thought I need a camera that moves slowly when I click the buttons here, so that I can precisely aim my camera. So I move the little fader to the left, and then I just move it so slowly. Look at that. Isn't that great? Look how slow that is. We'll move it left. You can see the dirt on the lens. Look at that. We'll put the dirt right in the middle of the horse. Horse needs a car wash. Do they have a horse wash? Maybe that'd be a really good thing to invent. Just put your horse through the horse wash. $20 a month subscription. So, but to me, there are those times when even this is too fast. You know, when you're doing church and the pastor's up at the podium talking and you just kind of want to do a really slow pan somewhere. So I turn it down even more. And I know it's hard to see, but it is actually moving. It's moving so slow, it's almost imperceptible. Bump it up one little tiny notch. There we go. We'll move it left. Can you still see it? I can see that it's moving. I know you can't, but if you look very carefully, you can see that little black box in the bottom left corner of the preview monitor is actually getting more on the screen, right?
There you go.
It's moving. Where in the world can you find a pan tilt zoom camera that moves this slowly? This is the only one that I've ever used that worked that slow. So I'll bump it up one more notch, very slow, move it back to the right. It's still going a little faster. I just can't believe how slow this thing moves. It's slow. It's so smooth when it's moving too. It's not bouncing. There's no like the little gears inside aren't like catching, and as it's moving, it's still in focus. There we go. Look at that yellow and pink thing. Everyone needs one of those, right? Let's tilt down and see what it looks like. What is that pink thing attached to? It is attached to a fob down there on the little trailer. Clear down. Look how smooth that is. I have now reached the bottom limit of my tilt. But I could tilt all the way up and see the little birdies in the trees. Don't you love it? You can't even hire a camera operator to move this smoothly. Humans just don't do it. Humans, as we move this slow, in spite of having over 30 years experience pushing a tripod around, I cannot move this smoothly. By the way, do you see the quality of the bark? The picture quality of that? Look how, that's not the shot I wanted. So now I'm going to have to go back and use the pan, tilt, zoom settings to go back here. Let's zoom out. I have the zoom settings set to fairly fast because we don't want to take an hour to do that 1,000 foot away shot. And we're gonna pan over here to the tree, and you can take a look at the quality of the lens by seeing the bark on the tree. Isn't this awesome? Now I know all of you want one, so be sure to call up Tom because he's got like tons of them sitting around.
Occasionally you may see glitches in the video, and that's not the camera, that's the internet connection from Jeff's locale. Just FYI.
Gosh. I live in Idaho, man. We have internet. We have internet out here. I know some of you are so jealous watching this and saying to yourselves, I wish I had internet like Jeff. Jeff has 20 meg download and 8 meg upload. Eat your heart out.
Amazing.
Yeah, but take a look at that. See, now I know this is not here. I'm going to try to push my outgoing connection even higher. Watch this. I'm going to push this up to the maximum that vMix call will handle, and we'll see if it works. This is 1080p 4 meg, and hopefully it doesn't glitch out on us.
Holy cow.
So there you go. See, I'm dropping frames, but you can still see. It's so clear. It's just beautiful. Totally love it. And the sense of it. Here, let's zoom in. Happens. I'm going to zoom in nice and slow as the camera will zoom. Now look at that. How many times have you sat in church and you've told your camera operator, hey, can you push into the pastor so all people don't get sick?
Jeff, you may need to switch back to 720 because your audio is really breaking up at 1080. Yeah, there we go.
Oh my goodness. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, we lose a little bit of detail on the picture, but I think we saw it. Yeah, and the leaves and the bark and the background there is really a good shot, showing off what that camera is capable of.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, here, let's speed this up and start it over. Here, we'll back out real quick. I wanted to bring this up. I have sat and watched church so many times, or, you know, a corporate conference, and you got the guy up there at the podium talking, and you're thinking, wouldn't that be awesome if I could just pull in really tight, if I could just push that shot in there really tight, but so slow that the old people don't get sick. You know, the P60s, they don't like those MTV style bang, 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 thank you, ma'am shots. They like those nice, smooth, ultra smooth, professional shots. And the cheap PTZ cameras don't do it. Watch how smooth this push is right here. Look at that. Just look at that. I'm going from full wide. I'm just going to keep it going, and we'll see how far it will go. I'll probably have to move a little to the left. Here, let's move just a tad to the left. There we go. So that when it zooms in dead center, it's not zoomed in on the bark, because I know it'll go out of focus because the camera's only like, what, 6 feet from the tree? But maybe not. So as we zoom in closer and closer and closer, and that guy's up on the podium talking about all the stuff none of us care about, because we don't really care. We care about video. We care about vMix. We don't really care about whatever their pharmacology people are talking about. So as they're zooming in on saying all that stuff, we're like, oh my gosh, when's this conference ending? We're enjoying our incredibly beautiful, slow push right into the podium and saying to ourselves, I bought the right gear. I'm a badass. I bought the right stuff. All these people at this conference are looking at me saying, dang, he's the guy. We gotta hire this crew again. Because look at that. I'm pulling up, and I'll bet you see ants crawling on that. I bet you when we get in, there's ants crawling on that, because there's always ants crawling on stuff at the farm. Can you believe this? And it's not upsetting. You don't have to take Dramamine. And have you noticed that my exposure, now it's glitching because of my signal, not because of the camera. Have you noticed that my exposure has been consistent throughout? Look at that. Now, of course, I need to move it up. I noticed something really cool. On the less expensive PTZ cameras, when you pull in really tight and you want to change your shot, like maybe pan left a little bit to free frame your presenter, or pan right to reframe the pasture, because they always want to swing a little left, swing a little right. You know, you got to do those pans. So when you, on the cheaper pan tilt zoom cameras, when you hit that pan button, the camera is it's gonna just zip out of the way. But look at this. Even when I'm pulling so tight, the camera somehow knew that I'm really tight and still just moved so slowly on such a tight shot. Do you realize how hard that is when you've got a guy on a tripod that you're paying $500 a day, $1,000 a day to operate that camera? When he's pulled in super tight on that speaker, 300 feet away in an auditorium in a convention center in Las Vegas. Why do I say that? Because I've done it. I've been there, 300 feet away, 200 feet away, that guy at the podium, and then the director says, make a slow pan, follow the guy across the stage. You're trying to pan on a pinhead. I'm not referring to the guy who's actually speaking. Talking about the fact that it's this little tiny dot 200 feet away. You're trying to make a nice smooth pan so it looks so pro. But here, let me slow my pan speed down a little more. Here, look at this. It's just so smooth. Now it's bouncing because I'm using a $44 lighting stand. Oh, hey, look at the tree bark. Isn't that awesome? Now you see that green in the top right corner? That's a leaf from the tree that it's sitting next to. Nice depth of field. Really wonderful. So Tom, I don't know how much more you want me to say about this, but I'm in love, and I'm going to make the camera pan as fast as it can now. Here we go. Boom. Look at that. Pull right back in.
Pretty amazing.
All the way from as tight in as it goes to full wide in what? A second and a half?
Yeah, or less. Yeah. Well, Jeff, you have given us a great overview of this camera. I think your models are stunning.
Look at them. They're still eating.
They can come stay with me anytime. Well, the one's eating. The other one's just waiting patiently in line.
Yeah, we have a problem with the older one. Actually, the older one's the one that's eating right now. You can see because her hip bones are poking out. She's like 23 years old. And so she's the one who's eating. For some reason, the younger one hasn't kicked her out.
Huh.
Trouble with that. Yeah, she's actually seems to be gaining a little weight.
That's good. Get her through the winter.
It's always good.
Well, Jeff, you're a champ. You are a champ. I so much appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing about this camera. And I do want to get you back on the show again to talk about the PTZ keyboard. And we'll have to make
absolutely.
another date for that.
I've used this keyboard, and it is sweet because, I'm looking at it right here, but since I was an idiot and didn't plug my own camera in, I can't show you. But right on the keyboard, there's this really cool button called exposure and one called lock, white balance, one push white balance. Many times if you're like, man, I need to change my white balance, but then you're like, okay, where's the menu? Click, 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 click. Where's the menu? Menu. Why not just have one right there? Bang.
Bang.
Click, twist the little knob. That's it.
That's right.
You got a nice rocker switch for zoom, telephoto, and wide. You can dial in like 255 presets or something, and the smoothness of it. The problem I had with previous controllers was that the latency from the time I pushed the joystick left or right was the latency was so obnoxious that I'd overshoot my shot every single time. So I ended up sending
Yep.
every single controller back to Amazon.
Yep.
But like I
get
told
that.
Tom when he sent this out to me, Tom, I'm so sorry, but you're never going to see this controller again. And he's like, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. See, look at him nodding up and down like that.
That's
Come on,
right.
Not up and down, not up and down.
That's right.
There you go. You saw that,
Good.
folks, right there at home. Tom nodded up and down. Yeah, so we'll talk about that next time.
All right. Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you.
And
I
so
sure do.
And so for my buddy Jeff Widgren, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. That's right. So thank you all so much for tuning in today. I know it's a little longer than normal, but you know, once Jeffrey gets on a roll, it's hard to stop him. And there was so much depth to this camera that it was worth taking the extra time. So I hope you'll tune in next week, next Wednesday at 3:00 Eastern. Not sure exactly what we're going to be doing then, but it'll be other good stuff for sure. I'm sure. If we can help you at Eastern Shore Broadcasting, right there, we represent vMix, we represent BirdDog, we represent other companies like Magewell and PTZ Optics and Yuan, and we also design and build custom PCs to be used for live streaming and recording with vMix. So that's our gig. If we can help you with any of that, we'd love to. So we will see you. Well, you will see us next week, we hope, when you tune in again. Until then, keep streaming.